across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham, coming up to 10 minutes to 7. Emma Wolf is here. We've got a mixture of big stories on the front pages this morning, many of them carrying the interview with Prince William, saying it's been a brutal year for absolutely all of us. Pictures on the front page of The Times, The Sun, and the Daily Mail, of course. Trump eyes quick start with tariffs and tax cuts, front page of The Sun. And then Rachel Reeves is driving up prices, according to a warning from the Bank of England, saying that inflation is going to be the order of the day if Rachel Reeves doesn't get a grip of things. Go ahead, says Tim. Get the farmers to stick a Palestine flag on their tractors, then everything will be fine. Yeah, I see what you did there. Now, one of the big stories, Emma, that's kind of passed us by is about the Archbishop of Canterbury this morning, as I like to call him, Archbishop Wokeby, Justin Welby, former BP oil executive, who apparently has apologised because the most prolific serial abuser to be associated with the Church of England might have been brought to justice earlier if he had formally reported it to police up to a decade ago. Kathy Newman has done a great investigation for Channel 4 News. She's also on Times Radio. Let's have a look at what she said to Archbishop Welby in 2019.
I genuinely had no idea that there was anything as horrific as this going on. And the kind of story you showed on the clip, I mean, if I'd known that, I would have been very active, but I had no suspicions at all.
The Macon Review says this was one of many incorrect assertions and that enough was known to have raised concerns upon being informed in 2013.
And this story has kind of raised its head again because Kathy Newman has gone back to Justin Welby and said, you know, you weren't absolutely right to say, were you, that you didn't really know what was going on. Because it cost 5 decades in 3 different countries, involving as many as 130 boys and young men in the UK and Africa. This guy who was called Jonathan Smythe, I think it was John Smythe, who was a QC, is said to have subjected his victims to traumatic, physical, sexual, psychological and spiritual attack, permanently marking their lives.
It's absolutely shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, awful.
And this, I think, is why people, for starters, I think one should be able to believe and trust in honesty from a man of God in that way.
You'd like to think so.
The most senior man of God in this country. So I think that, is he being absolutely truthful?
Yeah.
But also, why is he not across this? Why, if he's really claiming that he didn't know anything about this,
and apparently it's worse than that. He used to contribute to his, I don't know what they call it, but his sort of mission, if you like, in Africa. He would send donations every single week or every single year to this guy, knowing that he was a paedophile.
Well, and if he knew that, then I think that he has some serious questions to answer. And I think this is why people feel so frustrated at Justin Welby getting involved in all the other things that are none of his business, commenting on things like immigration, commenting on things like climate change.
He's full of it, isn't he?
He's full of it. And it's not as though he doesn't have enough to be looking to be dealing with and, keeping an eye on.
Absolutely right. One story that we should point out to everybody, which is quite important, I think, a young man by the name of Dylan Willis, who was 18 years of age when he threw a brick through a restaurant window in Middlesbrough following the Southport child stabbings. He was part of the people who were fast-tracked through the justice system. He was sentenced to a couple of years in jail. Yesterday, a court of appeal decided that the sentence was actually ridiculously harsh, which kind of puts to bed all of the Keir Starmer stuff, doesn't it? About locking people up.
It really does. And I think he's still got big questions to answer about locking people up for social media posts.
Yeah.
Because that is not real life.
Right.
This guy threw a brick through a window. But and
he got a couple of years. That's now been suspended. So he's been released, basically.
He's been released. But why are we seeing violent criminals, people who have put their partners under threat, who have, committed domestic violence, that kind of thing, violent crime, shoplifters? Why are they going free still? Why are they being released or just not being locked up in the beginning?
Absolutely right. The story of the day, it's so complicated, this. I'm not quite sure how we're going to explain it, but it says in The Sun on page 27, cracked it, chicken or egg riddle solved. Scientists believe they have finally cracked the age-old question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Now, it's a great intro, and when you read into the story, you go, OK, let's now explain it then. It starts to get very complicated.
It does get complicated. I'm glad that's not just me.
I started reading it, and I'm going, right, great. So
which way?
I think they're basically saying, I think the egg came before the chicken. because they're saying that eggs basically were formed by, a process of sort of evolution from the primordial slime. Nothing to do with actually a chicken, literally laying an egg. It was all to do with eggs being created before animals were even created. But the way they explain it is this, and it's coming from Geneva University. A single-celled species has been discovered in Hawaiian marine sediments, and it's called, wait for it, Chromosphera perkinsii, which sounds like some kind of detective from CIS, Miami or something, isn't it? So apparently 1 billion years ago, the team found that once its cells reach their maximum size, they divide into multicellular colonies with a 3D structure looking very similar to the early stages of eggs.
Well, it's a bit like an amoeba. That kind of is just, it's sexless,
so it's got
isn't
a bit of a shell.
Yes.
So it's an egg, basically.
An egg. Well, maybe a farmer could call in and explain this, because they must deal with lots of chickens and eggs.
Well, yeah, they must do. I mean, I once had chickens, actually. I had two. Yeah, when I was a student, we decided to go. I was living in one of those horrible houses with like 4 other people.
What? So you decided to get chickens in the house?
And we decided to become self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So we started growing our own vegetables, had a garden, grew strawberries, grew runner beans, grew all sorts of stuff, and decided to get some chickens so we'd have some eggs, and it was great. And
did they cause an absolute? I mean, they do cause a lot of mess.
Well, no, because we had a little hen house for them. Okay. Tragically, for one of them, we thought one of them stopped laying eggs. And so under the new sort of socialism rules that we were living by, he had to be executed.
Oh, my
So we had to import somebody from an abattoir to kill the chicken.
Oh, that's awful. Did you then eat it?
We then ate it, and it was delicious.
Yeah, there is something deeply satisfying about, I don't know about chickens, but growing your own veg and fruit. They taste so much better.
They do. Tomatoes as well.
From your own garden tastes 1,000 times better than a supermarket
Absolutely
carrot.
Incredible. Here's another one for you. Telegraph, page 13. The life of Brian apparently is more accurate than the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I never thought the Bible was that accurate anyway.
No, I didn't.
Did you?
No.
It's not supposed to be a documentary, is it? It's kind of, the thoughts of Chairman Mao, except in, in sort of, highfalutin form.
Yes.
So, yeah, fascinating stuff. Let's talk about Trump, because he could block the Chagos Island deal.
This would be a really bloody nose for Starmer and for Lammy.
Yeah.
Because Lammy got on top of this one. I mean, they just announced it out of the blue. Yeah, no, it looks like Starmer could. I mean, look, the thing is, I think they could squeak it through before Trump is in power.
Yeah.
So they've got a few months. I don't know about that. It sort of depends on whom Trump elects.
But the Americans, the Americans basically have this final say, presumably, over Diego Garcia, right?
Yeah, and
if
they conclude that the Anglo-American military base there is going to be under threat by us handing it back to Mauritius, and they're worried about China as well, then it looks like Trump could block it. So let's see.
Well, yeah,
really hope he does.
Another U-turn for Keir Starmer. What about what's the other story we want to do? Oh, Prince Harry.
Yes.
Bought a house in Portugal.
This is the other thing that Trump could do.
He might be deported.
Yeah, so I think he had a sense that would be so funny. So obviously in his book, I'll call it a book in inverted commas, in Spare, he went on and on about all his amazing drug use and all of that, which actually kind of contravenes quite a few of the US visa rules that we all tick on the plane and say, nope, never done that, never done that. There he is publishing all his drug use. And Trump has said he needs to be investigated. And so it looks now like Harry and Meghan may have bought this Portuguese bolt hole as a way of a sort of, escaping and having somewhere to go to, because they're not very welcome in this country, are they?
No, they're certainly not.
I'm loving this new King Charles crackdown, cutting off Andrew without a penny.
Totally.
Not giving Harry a place to live and being very, very strict. Strict daddy.
Let's talk about Gladiator 2. I don't know if you're a fan of Gladiator 1.
Paul Mescal.
Do you not like Gladiator 1? I mean, I must say, I did actually. I did like the first Gladiator film.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
But they can't get what's his name? Russell Crowe. For Gladiator 2. I assume partly because he can't fit into his Gladiator's outfit.
Yeah, I know. And he must be about 60 or 70 now.
He's probably really old, but he's also put about 10 stone.
Yeah.
But he was brilliant in the first one.
He was. But, and the opening lines about I'm the father of this and a father of a murdered son and a wife of a dead husband. Really good.
Brilliant stuff. But it's got Paul Mescal in The Sun today on how he became the Colossus of the Colosseum. But I've been told, ultra new, that people who have seen the film say it's absolute rubbish.
Well, and the King and the Queen have to go to this royal screening next week. And that's really funny if it's if it's a real stinker.
Yeah, it really is a stinker, apparently so. Emma, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Margaret in Tunisia says this: so it's okay for these pro-Palestine idiots to march in London every weekend, but not okay for our farmers to demonstrate. Again, the UK has a two-tier system due to these lefties. We need a Trump in charge of the UK. Never a more sensible word spoken. We do need a Trump in charge of the UK. Coming up in the next hour, it's John. It's Not a Story Rental. So we'll be asking him about all of the unearthed comments that we've got from Labour and why they've all slagged off Trump and why they're all trying to run away from it at 100 miles an hour. Also coming up in the show a little bit later on, we'll have some gaps for you because it's Friday and we want to hear from all of you. Give us a voice note, 0344 499 1000.